Welcome to the podcast where passion and purpose collide. We are on a mission to interview women and the occasional token man about how their passion and purpose have collided to create healthy relationships and profitable businesses. I'm Elizabeth Denham here with Rebecca Monet, and we are the co-founders of the Coterie for Women and the publishers of the Franchise Women magazine. So Rebecca, welcome to our regular Wednesday chat. How's your week so far?
Is it Friday yet?
I know. It's been a long week already, hasn't it?
It's hump day though, so this is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just a couple more days.
Well, and you have some exciting news coming up tomorrow, so.
I do. In fact, I call that my rose, right? My rose this week is after a year, thanks to COVID, I am finally able to go see my children and my grandchildren. My granddaughter is going to be 1 year old and the party is on Saturday. So I fly out tomorrow and I'm told flying is going to be no big deal. So I'm really looking forward to seeing my grandkids and my.
So have you not seen that baby since she was born?
I've seen her. Well, I was there for 6 weeks after the baby was born. And then when I had my surgery in Florida, my daughter brought the baby because she was still nursing. And so I saw the baby in early February.
Okay. That's still a long time.
It's a long time. Yeah. So I've only seen her on Zoom. Every week I see her on Zoom. But I haven't physically held her.
Yeah, that's a very long time. They changed so much that first year.
I know.
Well, that's a very good rose. What's your thorn, though?
My thorn is my washing machine. So I have a one-way ticket to the Midwest, and so you can imagine what my packing is going to be like. So I'm washing everything so I have it. And I just went to check my washing machine, and it's not spinning out. It's just water. So my kids, I'm not going to have clean underwear. What the heck is going on here? I need to be packing so I can go on this trip. So that's a thorn.
So grandma's going to be naked.
Grandma's going to be naked. Exactly. Oh my gosh. Or, I mean, I guess I could pack it wet and put it in the suitcase. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but
then you're going to be over your weight limit because you're going to be carrying water.
Literally carrying water.
Your suitcase is going to be too heavy.
Yeah. Details, right? I'm sure we'll get through it. We'll figure it out, but it's bad timing. Why couldn't this happen 2 days ago? Not today, when I got to be up for an early morning flight.
Well, you could pack light and just bring one to wash and one to wear. Then you'd be doing laundry every day. But
there you go.
It could work.
I could live with that. That's not a problem at all. So how about you, Elizabeth? What is your rose and what is your thorn this week?
Well, my thorn has to do with teenagers and particularly teenage girls. We have 5 kids, and over the years, until you're graduated from high school, we monitor your phones, your social media, and that kind of thing. So we were having a little bumpy road with one of them, and I checked the phone, and this girl, they are the most foul-mouthed things. Amazing. Sometimes. She was cussing up a storm.
Oh my gosh.
And horrible, just horrible. And that had happened to another son when he was in the 7th grade, just vulgar stuff. And we get on there and we text them back, and we're like, this is so-and-so's mother. And we monitor their phone. And if we continue to see behavior like this, we're going to call your mama.
Go.
And sometimes they almost never respond. The one a few years ago responded once and said, okay.
And yes.
Then she did it again several days later. And the funny thing is, we don't check them that often. We haven't had a lot of trouble with our kids. We're not like on it all the time. But every time we randomly walk by the little charging station that we have, and you glance down, there would be something awful. I'm like, and it would have been one out of, 1,000 texts, and we just happened to see that one. But I don't understand these little foul-mouthed girls. It's so tacky and classless. And I want to say, does your mom know? One of them a few years ago Donald called her, the mom, and she didn't call him back for 2 weeks. She avoided
Wow.
him. And I'm thinking, if my child did that, if somebody called me, I would have said, I am so sorry that they were speaking to your child that way. I will handle it.
She's
You
probably
know,
embarrassed. She's probably embarrassed to know what to say.
well, man up. I mean, this is parenting.
Or what up?
Woman up. This is what happens. Nobody wants to have to face that crap.
No.
Your kid acts like an idiot, but they all do it. And I'm a big believer in the village. And if my kid's doing something terrible, I want to know it.
Yeah.
One of my best friends, when I used to live in Pensacola, she had a rule that her son could not cross this big road on his bike. He was young. He's probably 5th or 6th grade. And I saw him at the Circle K on his bike, which was across the big road. And so I said, hey there, dude.
Dude.
And I got in the call and I called his mom. I said, do you know he's at Circle K? She's like, no. Well, he is. He was not allowed to cross that 4-lane road.
Not on a bike. Oh my gosh.
It frustrates me when parents don't respond appropriately. If your child screws up, say, I am going to handle this, or even make them apologize. That would be good.
Parenting isn't the same today as it once upon a time was. Responsibility is optional, being
so
a
many
parent.
So many portals to check.
That too. But I also think parenting has turned into, they just want to be best friends with their children, where parenting isn't that. You and I have had conversations about that in other shows, but we're parents first, and that sometimes means, saying no or setting boundaries and keeping our kids accountable. And
yeah, I mean, that's how they learn, and we're nobody's friend until they're independent.
That's right.
I mean, we get friendlier.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say you reach the whole friendship level until they're
out.
And they're paying their own bills.
That's right. Then I like you.
Yeah, exactly. But the rose, I think, is a good one. And I wanted to mention it because we want everyone to come. We had our first hump day happy hour on.
That's right. It was so successful and so fun.
We had some really neat women of varying age groups, varying jobs, very nice discussion. So we're going to do that every Wednesday for about an hour, and would invite anybody to come. If it gets bigger, we'll do breakout groups. If it's small, we'll just stay on the group. But it was so much fun because I was feeling really draggy at the end of the day and not in the greatest mood. But when you talk to a bunch of fun, cool women and you're learning what they do and who they are and what their experiences are, it just kind of gives you a little lift in your step. So
that's a wonderful rose. I love that, Rose. So again, if you're not part of the coterie for women, go sign up. You can join some of these events and meet other like-minded, fun, intelligent women right there in the coterie. So we look forward to having you join us.
And the link is in the link is in on our down there. Click it and join.
Yeah, so much fun. We'll see you at the next Hump Day Happy Hour next Wednesday.
Absolutely. Welcome back to the podcast where passion and purpose collide. Today on our episode, we have Marianne O'Connell. She is CFE and founder of FranWise, a franchising consulting firm that helps young franchise systems grow through processes, compliance, manuals, and training. Her career stretches more than 40 years as a multi-unit franchisee, franchise executive, and a consultant. She works with major brands, new concepts, and top professionals in the franchising sector. She serves on several IFA committees, is past member of the IFA Board of Directors, former chairman of the Supplier Forum Advisory Board, Women's Franchise Committee, and Membership Committee. Marianne is the recipient of the Crystal Compass Award and frequently contributes to the IFA with articles and presentations. She is an advocate for the poor and underserved in her community, working as a volunteer for Share Ourselves, Habitat for Humanity, and Big Sisters. So Marianne, welcome to Where Passion and Purpose Collide.
Well, thank you. It's so nice to see you both.
We so enjoyed our conversation last week, and of course the hurricane got in the way with us being able to get you on the show last week. So we're glad.
Rebecca, you and I were fine. It was Elizabeth stuck with no power, no anything. So
yeah,
it was so funny because that night as it was coming in, Elizabeth and I were still working, right? Working. And she said, can we wrap this up? I need to go help my parents get their patio furniture locked down. And so I said, what the heck are we still working? Go take care of your parents. It's ridiculous.
Hurricane prep and get everything secured.
That's right.
Exactly.
Unless you're a crane on a bridge, right, Elizabeth?
Unless you're a crane on the bridge. And somebody posted a video who lived on the bay, beautiful house right on the water. And she says, there's a crane floating out past my dock. And there's just this barge with a crane on it bobbing along. So some people were not well prepared. But
absolutely.
We were. So
we're rocking and rolling.
So Marianne, we have so many exciting things to talk about. And I think that your experience in business is something a lot of women can relate to, but also a lot of women, like, for example, my 22-year-old daughter's age, who have no idea of the things that women have had to endure and overcome. Mm-hmm. So talk to us a little bit about your path through business and some of your experiences that would never happen today. I think it's really interesting.
Well, I always like to say, to me, my path, Elizabeth, is a straight line. But if I tell you I started as a drama major and graduated with a degree in theater, and now I'm doing manuals for franchises, it doesn't sound direct, but I have said this before. I think life is a river. And as you're going down it, don't just watch the water. Look at what's going on in the banks and occasionally pull over, because there might be something great there. But as far as coming up in the ranks, I knew nothing about business. No one in my family had a business background. And I know that this is big on the internet and social media right now with the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but they're saying, if you have a credit card, if you're a woman and you have real estate in your own name, if you have a business in your own name, if you get to make your own medical decisions, thank her. Mm-hmm. I am of the generation, my mother was subject to all of those things. Mm-hmm. And I love hearing about your 22-year-old daughter. It says a lot for what the women's movement was able to accomplish, that she doesn't have to know things were bad, that we made so many strides in such a short time that it all seems normal to her. That can also be dangerous.
History book. Everything, she's surprised at things. And I'm like, well, I've always been able to get a credit card, but I remember when certain things happen, or my mother or grandmother or women in my life have told me those stories. And so I don't even personally have a lot of those stories to tell her, but to our kids, so many things are a history story. Mm-hmm.
You're telling me I'm old enough to be in a history book?
I am. You and me both, girl.
In their history books. And I'm like, that's a history book?
I think we'd be cute in a history book.
We just don't have those really darling suffragette dresses that the women of the last century were wearing. But it is, I guess, in that range. It has been a long time. It's been since the 70s. So you're 50 years since many of these big things happened. But it wasn't like one day everybody said, okay, now you got credit in real estate. It was slow. And I hope that they do study it in school, or they hear it from those of us who were from that generation. Otherwise, when you take things for granted, you let your guard down. And we can't give up what we've gained. So yes, it is all there. And I came through at a time when women were, especially being raised Irish Catholic, you were either going to be a nun, a nurse, or a teacher.
Yeah.
And I didn't like kneeling, and I didn't like blood, and I thought I might try and be a teacher, but that didn't work out for me. So I went a different direction. And luckily, my dad was the only boy in his family of girls, and he's raised by them because he was orphaned when he was young. So his sisters raised him. So in his mind, women could and should do whatever they needed to do. And my mom was all girls in her family. It's amazing there are any more of us O'Connells. So we were simply brought up not with, oh, you don't do that because you're a girl. You don't play that because you're a girl. If I wanted to drive a car, I had to learn how to change the oil, change the tire, fix everything, because that's what it took to drive a car, whether you were a boy or a girl. I was surprised when I got into business and found out not everybody thought that way. And everybody wanted me to be a secretary. And I can't type, which is ironic considering what I do for a living, but I can't type well at all. And I simply decided I had to go in a different direction because I wasn't going to learn to type. And fell into franchising. I mean, that is really what changed everything for me. I had moved to California doing the quintessential California experience, being a waitress, an aspiring actor. I got a job in real estate, and I started to date that man that I was working for in commercial real estate. That changed my perspective on a lot of things. Real estate was fairly gender neutral, even back then. Then franchising fell into our laps. And all of a sudden, I was part owner of a business. I didn't understand how it worked. I didn't understand how we made money, but okay, I'm game, let's go. And as the cliche goes, the rest is history. But I would still have problems sometimes trying to go in and sell male clients. They never believed that I had the authority to make the decisions. So luckily, when you have partners, we could switch off. Hey, he's not relating to me, you take him. But I'm better off with this person. We would swap clients out all the time just so we could communicate with them better. But as I came through the ranks, and I will not mention the franchise company that I was working for, but they decided to try and put themselves up for sale and realized they had an all-male board. We won't even talk about being all-male, all-white, but because it's Orange County, California, but it was an all-male board. And I got promoted to vice president and was fairly well told I was the token, but don't give me a title because I'm going to run with it. And it was interesting. We never did sell the company on that go around, but I got job offers from all the prospective buyers. So I took that and parlayed it after that, and learned pretty quickly. Godfredo Tute, a friend of mine, had said, and actually wrote a letter for me once saying, she's the worst employee, but hire her. She's a great consultant. Because I'm not good at being told what to do. No. I'm better at telling people what to do.
You're good at giving advice, good at solving problems. I find it interesting you didn't take it personal that you were the token female. You said, I got a title, I'm going to go for it and do whatever.
I didn't say I didn't take it personally. That was more, oh, no. That was more getting my Irish up. That was a dare. Ooh. You know, it's like, you're going to say that I'm a token? Hell no.
Yeah,
that is not good how it's going to go down.
Right. So I don't know if you've seen our column in the Franchise Woman magazine, but we have a column called The Token Man. And one man is allowed to contribute in each issue, and that's it. And I did it as a joke to start, and I was talking to my sister, and she's like, I think you should do it. And I have men lined up to be the token man. They all
really? That's great.
We'll turn the tables.
They all just are like, yeah, I'll be your token man.
But what I love is kids like your daughter and your son's generation, Elizabeth, they take for granted that we're all equal. They take for granted that you work across color. Gender is very fluid in that generation. Religion doesn't really come to be in play. We as the big grown-ups in the room, we have a lot to learn from the kids we've raised.
I think so too. And, I live in Alabama, so we're not quite there yet. I have left groups. I have left networking groups over being treated badly by men or have them behave badly toward other women. And my daughter was one time told that she wanted to be a doctor for years. And this guy said, "You can't, why would you do that? Just be a nurse. You want a family, you want to do this, just be a nurse." And she had enough fire in her to say, what's wrong with him? He shouldn't say that to me. So I think part of it is geographic. She's in DC now, which is a much bigger metropolitan area where there's a lot of diversity. So I think she feels much more comfortable where she is now. So I think it's coming though. And I think certainly my generation of kids, which is 14 to 22, are very open and accepting of anybody who can do the work, Right.
Now, luckily, I will say luckily, I was coming of age during the start of the women's movement.
Mhm.
So the idea, it was called consciousness raising and feminism. That was front and center. And I have an older sister who embraced it and was bound and determined that her younger sister was going to understand it too. And I'm very grateful to her for that. And I watched her for years be a pioneer for herself in business, and doing jobs that were not traditional at all and doing them very well. So, and again, so you got a dad and a mom who are just saying, do it. And I have a sister who's saying, you can do it. And it was just up to me to get up enough confidence to say, I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I like this O'Connell family.
Yeah.
We're a feisty little bunch.
You are a feisty bunch, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So,
I got it. So this is totally not on passion or purpose, but I will explain to you the women in my family in one story. My grandmother, who I never met, she died in 1924. She was married to Thomas O'Connell, my grandfather, and the love of her life. He died in 1916, and here she is, a widow with these kids, and she married again to an older gentleman who had money and an arrangement that the kids lived in a different apartment. But she did what it took to take care of her 4 kids. And he died first. And when she died, she's buried with my grandfather under the name of O'Connell. And that's 1924. That's a woman, that's the woman they always say, if you could meet anybody living or dead, I want to meet my grandmother.
Wow. I got chills on
That's
that.
a great story.
Yeah.
So we're a scrappy bunch of women.
Scrappy and feisty for sure. So I'm wondering if we could shift gears a little bit, because you've had an illustrious career, no doubt. And along the way, you've interacted with a lot of different people, some of which mentored you and encouraged you, and others where you kind of one hand up, one hand down to bring up that next group. And one of the things you said in our earlier conversation that really, really struck me, and I want our folks that are listening to hear, is this whole idea of managing up. I just think it's a brilliant concept, and I think everybody should learn this. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
So when I was working at Money Mailer, I was fresh off a divorce and I was angry. I didn't realize it, but I was angry. And I have a bit of an Irish temper on a good day, so you add to that systemic anger. And I had an assistant named Kelly Cromboots. And I would come, I'd be in a meeting and maybe the CEO of the company would tell me that somebody was delinquent. Let's say that. They're delinquent on a bill, and I would get angry. I would take it personally. And I am screaming as I'm walking down the hill, and I would haul, and I would say to Kelly, get Fred Flintstone on the phone right now. And she would say, okay, but before we do that, you were looking at these boxes, and did you want the red on this side or on that side? And she was some inane thing, and I never caught on for the first 6 months. And what she was doing was giving me time to calm down, and then to say, should I get Fred on the phone? And I go, oh, what do I want to talk to Fred for? And I realized that that was a gift she had, which was to manage up. And I learned more from that than I did from the people who were up here, to appreciate the talent that was behind me or supporting me. And Kelly, to this day, she will say her superpower is she is a person whisperer. She can hear what you're actually saying, and she has been able to manage up in whatever situation she's in. I would not have the career I have without her having done that at that point. She was put into my life in that point to make sure I stayed on the right course. Otherwise, I'd be back to being a waitress. She's pretty amazing, and now is a very successful franchise executive in her own right. So.
Wow. I know Kelly. I adore Kelly. And it is a superpower. It is a superpower, this people whisperer, that she understands really what's being said between the lines and what that tone of voice means and what that face and those gestures mean, and how she's able to get right to the heart of it and to diffuse and to redirect, all without even knowing it, right? She's just so gentle.
She's not manipulating. That is the thing. And if anybody wants to try and master this skill, it's not manipulating. It's understanding who that person is and what their on-off triggers are, and turning the on one, getting them to turn off the destructive ones and turn on the constructive ones. That's really what that whole idea of managing up is. And in that, I turned around and saw that this wasn't somebody who was destined to be an executive assistant. She had talent, and she had marketing talent. So I started promoting her. When I left the company, the executive team that remained continued to promote her because they all saw what she was capable of doing. And it started with calming my incredible Irish temper.
Well, I don't know Kelly, but to listen to you talk, she has to have someone who has a very strong sense of self. Because if you don't, and someone is mad or going through an angry period or whatever, she could have taken things more personally, but instead she recognized, this isn't about me, this is about something that you're going through, or something that happened, there's a trigger, and how do we get past this in a good way? I think that's kind of a remarkable thing for someone to be able to have that level of self-assuredness.
And she's 15 years my junior.
Right.
So she's working with a boss. She's 15 years younger than I am, and had more maturity than I did to be able to see what was going on. And yes, she has a very strong sense of self. But I think if anyone is looking to people who are good at managing up or wanting to learn how to do it, it's not conceit. It is simply understanding and peace with who you are.
Right.
It's a beautiful way to describe it.
Well, it is. And it's a beautiful testament to her.
So my concern is, because we talked about this the last time the three of us got together, is how do you use the tool of managing up or teach it when we're all remote?
Yeah.
We're missing those. I'm not going to turn on the camera and yell at you. I'm going to calm down first. So I'm hoping that all the remote working, I know the forecasters are saying that that's here to stay for quite a while, but I hope not completely, because there is nothing that will substitute for the personal interaction. I had a boss that used to call it the water cooler talk. That shows you how old we are, but just that talk in the office, you do need that, because even if we're the best of friends and relaxed, this is not real.
It's not real.
We know there's a camera. We're looking at a little green dot. I'm not looking at your face, that kind of thing. So I'm not reading all your cues. And so that's a skill that's needed in life, in business. And I hope that we get the opportunity to start working with people and developing that again.
As a behavioral scientist, I do have some opinions on just that, because I think you hit on something that's going to be a bigger concern as time goes on. But I think it's become a concern for the last several years. The sensory acuity that you're talking about, that Kelly possesses, in the last few generations, that sensory acuity has slowed down anyway, or dampened, because we're more, on our technical devices, and we're not as capable of reading those social cues, that tone of voice or that gesture or that face that someone makes that says they maybe didn't completely understand. So some of this sensory acuity that we got face to face, even in the last couple of generations, because of technology, is not as good today as it once was, just because we're writing more, we're texting more, we're using technology, and we're not human. And now add on top of that, we're in a world of Zooming, right? So it's making it even more difficult. You know, you can read that email, you can read that text, and you can, like you said, be on a camera, but you know you're on camera. I think it's going to be, like you say, I think it's going to be a problem. I think it's going to be a serious problem.
And it's a life with filters. I was watching a Netflix movie the other night called The Social Dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
You really should read it, watch it. It is an eye-opener about how social media is designed to cue and change our behaviors.
Yeah.
But one of the things was the dysmorphia that young girls are experiencing. They are going into plastic surgeons and saying, I want to look like my face with this filter on it. So Elizabeth, where you're talking before about you have to have a sense of self.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, this is going to be more of a barrier. So I'm just hoping that soon, for so many reasons, some of them are just selfish, that we can get back together and we can be more connected to each other. It works better that way.
We agree.
It really does. And, you know, I sponsored my daughter's high school, the same daughter, newspaper when she was like 10th to 12th grade. I think she started a paper. And I was trying to teach them, you know, the journalistic pyramid. You start with the lead and you go down with the details. And they would bring me a quote that was like 2 words or half a sentence or a yes or a no. I'm like, how did you approach this person? And they would say, well, we texted them. And so I had to teach them how to communicate. They did not call on the phone ever. So I said, your first priority is in person. Second is on the phone. Third is an email if you absolutely have to. And you only text to confirm an appointment. Like, they were afraid to talk to people on the phone.
Yeah.
Interestingly, she's turned out to be a reporter, so she has overcome that. But I had to make her like call and follow up with colleges to say, did you get my ACT score? And she was sitting there one day typing and typing and typing. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be calling. I said, are you afraid to call? And she said,
That's it. They are. They don't know the human interaction. They don't have the same.
We've lost so much of that. And not just the social cues, but even just they're afraid of it.
Mm-hmm.
More than, I mean, that's
I never thought of it that way. I just thought that they had decided they didn't care for it, but I can understand the fear.
There is fear.
When I was a kid, having a telephone in your home was a big deal. I sound like I'm 800, don't I? But really, it was fairly new. And they used to teach you, starting in 3rd grade, telephone etiquette.
Mm-hmm.
They would wheel in this dummy telephone and you would do fake calls. That has been invaluable to me in business, even as a young girl, that I knew how to answer a telephone and just be polite and get the message and write it down. But maybe we need to go back to that.
It seems simple, but like they didn't. I said, you say, hi, I'm Hannah Dunham. I'm a prospective student at your college. I want to make sure you have everything that you need to process my application. So simple, you would think. But I learned a lot. So I went back to the whole group of little journalists at the high school. And I said, okay, we're going to talk about communication skills and we're going to practice. And you're going to tell me your name and who you are and what you do and where you're from. I mean, it was just, they had to be taught that again. Like, and I think that for me as a parent, I had no idea that was a skill that they lacked. So it's an interesting thing. And I wonder how that will change the dynamic in business. I mean, they're going to change. Have to learn it. Yeah.
It's going to change. We're seeing it already in franchising. It's going to have to change the business model. They're not going to be able to sell like generations prior to them, simply because they can't pick up on some of this and they're afraid, and they use technology rather than relationship or connection. So we're going to have to change to adapt to all of these things. Sad. But at the same time, there's opportunity in it.
But if we don't change, we die. So, so you have to find what's the good in it. And it is, so in franchise development, in sales, it's always been about building this relationship. And I am not saying that that is incorrect. I do think that will make very effective franchise awards, but that relationship is not there when the franchisee becomes disengaged and wants to sue. And they're going to go to the hard facts and the numbers. And sometimes that more clinical exchange of information might be in the long run the savior, but how do you find and maybe we have to rely on Zoracle for all of this. How do you find the people who have the cultural fit? And how do you define the culture if you're doing these very short snippets? There are ways. I mean, we all understand what the brands are out there, and they're using different ways to get our attention. And people can do the same thing. But I wouldn't say it's all sad. I would just say it's all different, and we need to roll with it.
We need to roll with it. I mean, it's amazing when challenges come up, and this is why I do love franchising, where the franchisee can focus on their business while the franchisor is paying attention to these new trends, these issues, these challenges, and they're doing what they need to do in terms of research and development of different products and services or methodologies. And you're right. I think there's always going to be opportunity. So we can whine and complain, hey, it's not like the old days. Or we can say, hey, we're in the real days, and this is what we have to do to go forward. So out of it always comes ideas and innovation. We are forever evolving as human beings and as businesses. So I'm wondering if we could shift gears one more time, because we could have you on for 6 hours straight, and we may have to get you back. But you're a consultant. And what I know and love about Marianne O'Connell is your straightforward approach of consulting. You are raw and honest and straightforward with all of your clients. And so they know that what is coming out of your mouth is something you have thought about, you have experience about, and you're noticing and you're sharing that. So I guess what I'm asking is, A, is this also that Irish feisty you? Or is this something you learned, and how can others do that, to be that, direct and straightforward with their clients?
I'm not sure that's the answer. It's a little of all of it. I mean, it can be learned, because here's what I would say. So genetically, I mean, is it nature, nurture, routine? Genetically, I am from a family that's kind of funny and abrasive, and the Irish humor is very dark. So we just kind of look at the world. I think we're born with a little bit of cynicism that other people don't have. Not good, not bad, just is.
Yeah.
The other is that my mom told me when I was a kid that the one thing you can never recover from is lying. If you've lied to someone and you've broken their trust, how will they ever know if they can trust you again and if you're telling the truth? Not a lot of things that Marge O'Connell said to me stuck, but that one landed big time. So there's that. I'm not, you may want to edit this next part out, because I've been in recovery programs. And one of the first things is, don't lie to yourself and don't lie to others. So I take that approach that and I'll tell my clients, I'm not always right, and it's your business, and we will do things your way, but I'm going to give you my most reasoned opinion. And oh, by the way, I have an opinion on everything. So I'm going to tell you, and sometimes it's not what you want to hear, and I may fight. And sometimes this is where I wish I had somebody right now to manage up, because sometimes I might fight a little too long and annoy a client, but I can read that and back off. It is that person's business, and I am definitely going to do within the bounds of the law what they ask of me. But yes, I also, lying takes up a lot of energy and a lot of time. Any kind of artifice, not just lying, but this is who I am. And if you don't love me, that's okay. I'm good with that. And then I know who I am. I know what I told you. I know what I stand for. And I once had the mayor of Costa Mesa, who we were very, very opposite politically. And I was on a rather important committee trying to redefine the government of the city. And he's giving plaques out at the end of it. And everyone else, he's got some story. And I get to me, he goes, got to say one thing with her. You always know where you stand. And he knew he stood way far away from me, but it was fine.
And people don't like that. They want the softness. They want the cushy, you know, I have a similar personality in terms of fighting for what I believe in. And I have put a lot of people off at different times and for different reasons. And you have to be okay with, like, I was covered in a magazine or a newspaper article, and the comments were vicious because they were all online and people can say whatever they want, to the point where a young man, my son's age, was texting me saying, I'm so sorry they were saying this. And I'm thinking, well, it's mean and it's awful and it's cruel, but I stand by what I said. Like, I'm not going to apologize for standing up for what I believe in. So I think that when you get to a place where you do know who you are and you accept it, flaws and all, and you embrace that, that's empowering, you know, to you, to the people around you, to your business, to your clients.
It frees you up to focus on your work, because I'm not worried about the impression I'm making. And I have great competitors in the franchise space. And I say that because I'm friends with most of them. I have great respect, but we all approach things differently. And that's great for the world out there that wants to hire a consultant for franchising. Because if I am not the person that they can communicate with, that if we are trying, I had a client last year, it was the first one ever I had where we just couldn't connect. I would think we had agreed on something and I'd hand a work product in and they would just freak out because it wasn't what they wanted. We agreed finally, this wasn't going to work. Take the product and take it to someone else to finish it. That is okay. I didn't take it personally that it was me. It was a failing, I thought, on my part, that I did not overcome that and get the communication. But I was still even okay with that because there were good people out there with personalities very different than mine, and they're still going to get great advice.
Great product and great, advice. Oh my gosh. Okay. So you just barely tapped on what you did. And of course, Elizabeth announced what you did, but we're kind of wrapping up a time. So I want to make sure people who are listening to this, that need franchise advice, need manuals, that they know how to get hold of you. So what's the best way, Mary Ann, for them to learn more about FranWise and to learn more about you and get hold of you?
Your best way is to go to our website, franwise.net, and there is a contact form through there. And you can find us on all the social platforms and reach out through any of those also. And it's all FranWise. Just make it easy.
FranWise. I love the name. Love the name. Thank you, Mary Ann, for being with us. I hope you'll accept another invitation down the road to come back, and because we made a list of 1,000 things we wanted to talk about, and boom, the half hour is gone. So we want you back. Is that all right?
Spending time with smart women? Of course, I'd love to.
Wonderful. Pretty also. Don't forget that. All right.
That was implied.
That was
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, Mary Ann, thank you so much. And we will have you back as soon as we can, because I would love to talk to you some more. So thanks for your time, and we will be back in touch.
Thanks, ladies. Bye.
Thanks, Mary Ann. Bye-bye.
What do you think is the #1 challenge for franchisors? You got it. Getting the right fit franchisee. And as you know, poor fit franchisees are often poor performers. Poor fit franchisees cost more to train and support. Poor fit franchisees are rarely satisfied or compliant, which can lead to validation issues. Not a good place to be. But now there is a solution. Zoracle Profile's scientific spot-on match program. Working with top broker groups in franchising, Zoracle has created a platform that scientifically matches the broker's candidate to the right fit franchise brand. Spot On Match predicts the compatibility, performance, and viability of a prospective franchisee. Spot On Match gives the franchise development team a data-driven and scientific approach to selling franchises. This is how it works. Zoracle works with each franchisor to establish their top performer blueprint. This research assesses current franchisees to determine the key psychographic indicators that separate high performers from mid to low performing franchisees. The final result of the research is the brand's Eclipse report, which compares prospective franchisees to a franchise system's high performers. Finally, brokers are running a spot-on profile on each of their franchise prospects. These profiles are then scientifically bumped up against the franchisor's high performer algorithms, and the match process begins. Dashboards are built for the franchisor and the broker to make sure the process is smooth and trackable. Right Fit matches instantly. Find out how you can be a spot-on match member. Save time. Stop guessing. Start matching. Call Zoracle Profiles.
Welcome to Women in the Know, where we discuss everything from politics and policy to relationships and marketing. We share our experience and our interviews with you in the hopes that we can all learn a little something from this. And one of the things that I think is really a neat topic that people don't talk about enough is the managing up concept that we talked about with Marianne O'Connell in her interview, and how she had someone in her life who came to her at just the right moment of life and managed her up so well that she didn't even know she needed it, or she didn't even know she needed to be managed in any way. But I think it's a great concept, and I think it happens more often than we recognize. So what about that do you think is so important?
Well, I love the concept too that Marianne O'Connell from FranWise was talking about, because 95% of our careers, we are subordinates to someone, right? Mm-hmm. And if we need something done or we want to facilitate something, we have to learn to manage up, right? We're not always in a position where we can tell other people what to do. And the experience that she talked about was where she had a colleague, Kelly, who managed her while she was going through some difficult times, and literally got the job done by being good at managing her boss. Kelly was good at managing Mary Ann. And I thought it was absolutely brilliant, because we don't usually think of that. We always think kind of, more patriarchal, top-down patriarchal kind of way of thinking. And here's someone who was using more a bottom up that says, okay, here's the goal, here's where we're going. My boss is kind of, crazy right now.
She's having a moment.
She's having a moment, right? And Marianne told us this. We're not speaking out of school here. Marianne said she had a moment. And Kelly then kind of guided her to a place that made some sense. So I love it. I love it. I'm going to be more conscious of it and try to do more of it myself.
Well, I think so. And I think that when you, like, here's a good example for us with the coterie that we're starting. We have hired a couple of little guys to help us. And I feel like they do that in some ways. They watch out for things. Hey, did you see this? This needs a little work, or is this functioning properly? Let's make sure that it is, or keeping you on track for things. Like, you get so busy with the big picture that sometimes a detail or two might fall through the crack. And so I think that empowers your people when they know you trust them to check behind you or point something out that's not exactly the way that it should be, or has an idea. Oh, I saw this wonderful trend. Why don't we implement that? I mean, those are different than managing up, but I think it all plays into that, making sure that the people that are your support are empowered to be that support. And I think it speaks a lot to Kelly that she was self-assured enough to do that for Marianne, but it also speaks a lot to Marianne that she recognized it and was willing to go with it.
She recognized it after the fact. She didn't even know at the time, but she recognized it after the fact. But I think the thing that's really kind of cool, both about Sherry Rose and Marianne O'Connell, is this idea, if you have the right team in place that has your back, it allows you to do what you do. You're not having to micromanage. Mm-hmm. In fact, in some ways, your subordinates and your team should be managing you, offloading some things and guiding you to some point. And in this case, it was a wonderful example. And the example you gave of our two marketing guys, and our ambassadors is just that, where they see things that we may be blind in, and they manage up to help us accomplish things that we've set forth. This is what we want to do. We may not know how to get there, but they're able to kind of slowly move us in a particular direction. So we're still guiding. You know, Mary Ann was still guiding. She was still a leader. But Kelly was saying, "Oh, you're not going to get there going that direction. How about if we go this way?" You know, and she's gently
and ours are still pretty young and in the formative years of their experience. And so I find it fun because they are self-assured. I think that's a quality that you need to be one of those people who can manage up. You have to be confident. You have to be willing to put something out there, even if it's a no, and not be, you know, hurt by it, but just continue to put those ideas out there. And so to me, the mutual benefit is really kind of a fun dynamic, because people are pushing you in the direction you need to go, and you're pulling them with you
at the same time. Yeah. It's a very interesting dynamic. So I think we're going to be good at this.
I do too.
Yeah.
Well, and it's because I think we enjoy it. I think when you really enjoy the relationship, it's fun.
It's fun. Absolutely. Okay. I think we should write a whole book, or talk Mary Ann into writing a book about this managing up. Anyone who has a comment, a thought about situations where you yourself have managed up, where you've gotten your superiors to move in a particular direction or diffused a situation, tell us about your situation in the spaces below, or whatever you're supposed to do. We would love, we would love to hear from you. In the meantime, we got to wrap up Women in the Know, and we'll see you next week for some more Women in the Know ideas. Welcome to Ask Beck and Liz, where no topic is off limits. We want to answer your questions about business and life and everything in between. If you have a question for Beck and Liz, just send it to ask@beckandliz.com. That's ask@beckandliz.com. We'll get to your question. In the meantime, we do have a question, and it has to do, Elizabeth, with, can someone be too honest?
No. The end. No.
No.
Well,
shortest segment in the history, right?
Yeah, all done. But I really do believe that. And I think that we've had so many people speak to the importance of honesty and integrity and that kind of thing. And Mary Ann O'Connell pointed out in her interview, you can't trust someone. Once they told a lie, you always wonder if they are telling you the truth. So it chips, it doesn't just chip, it chops credibility in half. But I think the problem comes when people are too worried about what other people think, or being pleasers, or, you know, you can be ugly about it and be truthful, or you can say it in a way that people can receive it and be constructive in the way that you deliver it. But I think, you know, one of the things that we talked about with Mary Ann was that when you're confident enough in what you believe and what you think and how you operate, then if somebody doesn't like you, it's okay. You know,
say la vie.
Yeah. I mean, not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's, you know, in my dating book, I said, if the first date doesn't work out, it's not a reflection on anybody in particular necessarily. It's just that you're not a good fit, and that is okay. There's somebody for everybody. So the same thing in business. There is somebody who's good fit for you, work-wise, employee, employer, all of those relationships. You just have to find that good fit and someone who delivers the truth in the way that you receive it well.
Yeah. The point that Mary Ann made was she is so confident in her work and has so much experience. She's being paid as an advisor. People want to hear the truth about their franchises. And the reality is, when we have an area of expertise like Mary Ann O'Connell has, we go to her because we want to hear the truth. So if we are patty caking around it, or we're fluffing it up, or we're a little too diplomatic about it, it's the candidate, the client, the customer isn't always able to hear it. So Mary Ann has learned to be almost brutally honest. She's just right out there saying it. And like you said, sometimes that could be offensive to some people. But trust me, if I went to an attorney, if I went to a doctor, if I went to a CPA, if I went to my mechanic, I want the truth. I want it is in black and white. I don't want anybody patty caking around that. Tell me the way it is so I can get where I need to go, solve this problem or whatever. So that honesty is what we're paying for. And secondly, like you pointed out, it gives us credibility. It's that this person is going to speak the truth no matter how ugly it is, and we can count on them to do that. So it's credibility, tenfold by being able to do that.
Well, and the thing is too, that when they know you're truthful, they know that they can believe what you say and you can make a decision. Mm-hmm. So when you do patty cake around it, then you create a lot of uncertainty within your relationship, within business decisions. If you're a consultant who's like, well, we'll see, you could do this.
What about that? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I want somebody who has a strong opinion and who's going to say, okay, this is the best course of action that I see for you. And here's why. And here's what I think will happen if you don't choose that. I don't want some mealy-mouthed person. No. I mean, so it's important to know what your opinion is. Mm-hmm. And Mary Ann doesn't have a problem knowing that, I don't think. And I think that sometimes people are like, what? But that's exactly what you need in the role that she plays.
Yes. It's so true. I had an experience of that yesterday. I've been battling a decision for several weeks, actually, if I was honest, longer than that. But a decision that I need to make, and I go this direction, and I go that direction, and I run the numbers, and I do this, and I do that. And finally, one of my franchisors says, let me coach you through this. And I'm like, yeah, you would do that? So he sat down in front of me and he says, I know as a coach, I'm not supposed to tell you what to do. He said, but I'm going to tell you what to do. I tell you, in fact, I did. I kind of gave him a virtual hug. I said, oh my gosh, I've gone to a dozen other people and they all said, well, you could do this. And what do you think? And how do you feel? And I don't know. Tell me what to do.
That's the problem.
Tell me what to do. So we do appreciate it when people are honest. So I'm going to go back to where you started, which is, I think the conclusion is no, we can't be too honest.
Simple answer. But sometimes it takes you a little lap around to get it. You have to work through all that in your mind.
La, 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 la.
Well, and I think we all do that. And I think the harder the decision and the bigger the impact, the more certainty we want. And so, and sometimes there's no 100% correct answer. And most of the time in life, I think that's the case. And what you have to do, and the biggest lesson I ever learned with this was when my son had the seizures. And I was a single parent and his dad didn't show up to all the appointments and participate all that much. So I was making the decisions and I had my mother with me, but she would say, I can't advise you on this. Like, this has to be your decision, because she didn't want to feel guilty if it wasn't the right one.
Right.
And so I ended up having to really just accept that I was doing the best I could with the information I had. And there was not necessarily always 100% correct answer. And so I think I really trusted the doctor, thankfully. And so when you have someone who knows their business and is confident in that, it makes those uncertain decisions a little easier.
Oh, yes.
So I think that it's critically important to be brutally honest, and because business decisions can be almost as big as a health decision when your livelihood depends on it. So
absolutely.
Now I think not only is it no, but it's heck no. No. You can't be too honest.
Capital
O.
No. Now, granted, we could lack a little diplomacy and tact, but we'll talk about that another time. For now, you got your answer to your question, audience, okay? The answer is no. You cannot be too honest. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships are forged. This is Beck and Liz signing off and wishing you another purpose-filled and profitable week.